Hey everybody, we got part 2 of our podcast with the Aldridges. Here we transition from our conversation on purity culture yesterday into a conversation about how do we raise kids in a way where we can begin those conversations about sexuality and about in some cases purity, but how do we have those conversations and what do they recommend as therapists? I think it was a great conversation. Thank you for joining me for this two-parter. Again, another content warning is, if you do usually listen to this with the kids, maybe this one's okay, depending on the age of the kids. But definitely dive in. Excited to share this with you. And we'll be back in 2 weeks working on that interview now. So excited for that.
So how do we talk about this with our kids? How do we start to parent with a better understanding of, man, I don't want them to make mistakes and hurt themselves. Like we don't want to hurt themselves and others. And we value this value that says waiting till marriage, there's a value in it. So why, right, is there? But then also, how do we start to communicate that to kids differently? It is hard.
It is. I think what I said earlier, just reiterate, start younger than you actually think.
Yes.
Because especially if they are going to school anywhere, doesn't matter. They're already hearing it before you think they are. And even we homeschooled our kids in the younger years, not to keep them from this, but they're still hearing things from other kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So start younger than you think, definitely between 8. I would say around 8, they need to understand things about their body and what sex is. And then as they're...
and let me add in to that 8-year-old kind of thing, even before, but right, the message that used to be given to kids and parents was around good touch, bad touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we have certain good touch. Hugs are good touch. Bad touch is like this. There's a problem with that. The value is good. The words are problematic and is leading into that purity culture because and this has been shown to be a problem, that even in awful sexual abuse, they get confused because their bodies respond and felt good about something. So now, well, my parents told me good, so it gets confusing. We don't want to use that term good or bad. We want to use and this is where you need to be more specific. Who is allowed to touch areas that are just for you, right? So we can say when we're helping you bathe as a 4-year-old, that is something just for parents, or a doctor when mom or dad is in the room sometimes has to check things. That's it. There's nobody else that needs to touch your areas that are just for you, right? And some communication about that starts it better to move us in a way that doesn't say it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the communication around not good touch, bad touch, or really just communicating as contextual.
Correct.
Touch. So those conversations start between
very young,
10, young. You're trying to incorporate it.
Yeah,
with touch, I would say even early. 4, 5, this is when we used to do, the other thing we did all the time was secrets and surprises, and helping kids know the difference between a secret and a surprise, because that is really important in grooming. Grooming is the process where somebody who is in power is trying to find out, will this person be able to keep a secret? That's part of the process, and that can be very short or longer. One of the things you can teach your kids from, we're talking 3 on, is the difference between secrets and surprises. Secrets are something we are told not to tell anyone ever. They're bad. We don't do secrets in this family. We don't keep secrets from each other. We don't keep secrets at all. And if anyone tells you to keep a secret, come and tell us, because that's a safety issue. Surprises are fun. They're when your preschool teacher tells you, oh, we're going to make this special thing for dad on Father's Day. Don't tell him yet, right? And we always say the difference is the yet. If we're holding on to something to surprise somebody later, that can be a lot of fun. And we, talk through birthdays and presents and those kind of things that are surprises. Kids get this very quickly. And I still remember our daughter coming home from me almost in tears and saying, my teacher told me to keep a secret from mommy. And it was around Mother's Day. And I was like, praised her. I was like, oh, I'm so glad you came and told me. But guess what? That's a surprise. We're allowed to, like,
yeah.
There was a moment of panic there. Like, oh my gosh.
Right.
No. But it was like this teaching moment where we could go, oh, this is perfectly healthy, normal.
That's
stuff.
good.
So,
that's good.
Like that kind of language really helps. And why we're talking about this now is because there is never a talk about sex with your kid. There is 100 little talks, and this is one of them.
Maybe not 100. That's going to scare people off. But yes, it's about the little bits and building that with your kids and making it okay for them to ask anything. And, you know, we also had a rule with our kids, like, you can ask us anything, any word you've heard, anything.
Tell you that was a huge positive for us.
Yeah.
Right. That said, literally, you did it with our daughters. I did it with our sons. If there is anything you've ever
they
heard,
could ask either of us, but that was a natural preference. Typical. They would want to, yeah.
If there's anything you heard in the bus, if there's anything you heard that you do not understand what it is and you want to know, I will never get mad at you for asking what this curse word is and what it means, or I'll never. Now, I may say we don't use that word, but I will be happy to tell you what it means.
Yeah.
Because what happens if they don't have that resource? They're going to go search it.
Right.
They're going to find a way to get a definition.
Yes.
Right.
And who knows where they're going to get it from, what information they're going to get. And
I won't use the word here, but I had one of my sons get off the bus and go, Dad, I have to ask a word. I don't know what it means. And he asked a sexual term that had been used. He was probably in like 4th grade, 5th grade, something like that. That if I hadn't told, I had to have a conversation I didn't really want to have with him at that age.
Mm-hmm.
But if I hadn't, I'm sure he would have gone and searched it somewhere and seen stuff I did not want him to see.
Right.
So, like it is a helpful tool to open those conversations too.
So secrets and surprises, not good touch, bad touch, but kind of contextual touch. Yep. As we get into relationships, as we get into that being part, if I skip something, please let me know. Yeah. I mean, I probably did skip things, but
I mean, the only big thing there is like body changes, right? And that is a time where I think girls end up getting more education now and boys get skipped about body changes. I think both need to be talked about what's going on with their bodies.
Sure.
There is fear that happens when certain things happen in your body and you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think there's, I'm springing this topic on you, so forgive me. For Christian parents, this one's hard now than it was, right? Because I had 2 older sisters. I picked up some of their mannerisms. So I had very feminine mannerisms at 13. And a question I asked my mom was, does this mean I'm gay? Right? Like, does this mean and she said, her answer, she nailed it. Actually, she said, well, do you want to have sex with men? And I went, no. And she went, then no.
Addison, the freedom that you had to ask your mom that question saved you years of grief.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I do think that is one of the things that's happening now.
Yeah.
Is that people don't have a way to think about it. And we still, in today's culture, have put mannerisms as the definition of gender.
Yeah.
Much more than desire, but much more than anything else. And that is a conversation that needs to happen. And I know Christian parents would like to ignore it and shelter their kids from even having to deal with it. It's just not a reality anymore.
I think there's a piece with
conversations.
With like one thing I've heard from people is, especially around the transgender issue, a woman developing feminine body qualities and they say, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable with this," and someone in their life says, "Oh, that means that in your soul you must actually be a man," but my understanding is that 100 out of 100 women are uncomfortable with the changes that their body makes in their teen years.
Isn't everybody? I mean, maybe guys aren't. I don't know. Isn't
No,
everybody?
I think everybody is.
I mean, I knew it was coming, but I was like, oh, all of this is inconvenient and not helpful. I mean, right? Like you're a teenager and you're so stuck in selfish things anyway. So it's like, I don't think anybody's completely comfortable with body changes like that because they're just strange to us in the beginning.
I just want to say, I think a lot of Christian parents think, oh, well, my kids are in Christian school, so we don't really have to deal with this. This is just in the public school element.
Oh, some of the hardest stuff we've heard has come out of Christian schools.
Yeah. They aren't talking about it in class, but they're still talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it doesn't matter if you homeschool. It doesn't matter if your kids are around other kids their age, they're talking about this stuff.
And if they aren't around kids their own age, they're going to figure it out. Hormones are making them question all kinds of things. So just understand no matter where your kids are, because we've heard that. I homeschooled. I didn't know how this would happen. It is a normal life stage change that the Lord created. And so if you think you're just going to skip it, that's going to cause its own issues.
I think you're bringing up a really good point. God designed our bodies to adjust and change. And part of that is a really strong desire from, let's say, around 13 through 19, 20 of figuring out what my identity is. That is part of how God designed us to be.
Yeah, and what's sorry, I'm getting my pastor brain is kicking in. What's happening there is we're not offering an identity as Christian parents, and guess who is? The LGBT community. And this isn't, I'm not, I don't think anybody's going to clip this or say, but it's like one of those things where it's like, over here is acceptance and happiness and pride and praise, and over here is just don't talk about it. It'll be okay. Please don't leave us alone. Yeah, it's like
100%. And I think we as parents fail when we're not allowing kids to talk.
Right.
Just stop.
I was
letting the fear come in.
Talk and let your kids explore their lives. Like you were talking, Addison, earlier, and it related to our own kids' story. Like you had two sisters for a long time. Our family was our daughter and two older brothers. And she, for the longest time, she was just going to be a tomboy, right? Because she hung out with her brothers all the time. She wanted to be with the brothers all the time. That was even her phrase, right? And it's just, that's okay. It's not a problem. She is a beautiful young adult woman now. And some of that still carries in who she is. She loves to do things with her brothers. Some of it is very much gone. And I think if we stop worrying, so much of that is just natural. What our family looks like, what our parents enjoy. If your parents love hiking and being outdoors, you're most likely going to enjoy that. Not always, but just understanding that so much that's brought to the table doesn't need to be feared. If we can just dialogue about it and be okay with it. I'm not talking about extreme things. That's another conversation. But don't freak out when your 15-year-old girl still just loves to be outdoors or do things like that. Maybe she likes hunting. That doesn't make her not a woman. That just makes her a woman who likes hunting, right?
Jackie Hill Perry has a great thing on this, where she was a homosexual who was saved and now teaches and is married to a man, and she has this. I think it's her book, Gay Girl, Good God. She talks about we have to stop creating extra biblical definitions of gender on things that we're just making up culturally. And so when we talk about raising kids, oh, well, girls play with dolls, boys play with trucks. No, they don't. That's just an interest thing. You know what I mean? And because those conversations become identity defining conversations as kids age. And a boy being interested in doing hair doesn't mean that boy's gay. It means that he's interested in doing hair.
He might be an amazing hairstylist. And I go back to, it says we are created in God's image, both man and woman, right? And so the Lord has both, probably even beyond this, but has male characteristics, has female characteristics, right? And for all intents and purposes, all of us have some. So me being a woman, I still have some male characteristics. Brad still has some feminine characteristics. That's not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing in the way God made it.
But think through, I just want to encourage, I think the thing that parents need to do in this is acceptance of those characteristics actually helps your kid figure out who they are. It doesn't push them the other way, right?
Correct.
I am a counselor. God designed me to be a counselor. That means I am more in the emotional world than a lot of men.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that as a young man. I am more emotive than the rest of my family by far. And that put me
Your family
as a
of origin.
teenager. Yeah, my family of origin.
I was going to say.
That put me as a teenager into asking these questions then of, does that make me gay because I'm more emotional and enjoy hanging out with women more? Right? Like I had to ask and wrestle with those same questions. Now, at that time, there wasn't, a whole lot out there about trans or anything. It was just gay or straight. And I was able to, very much like you, Addison, come to, well, wait a minute, I like them, but I also like them. So no, I guess I'm not gay, right? Like that was kind of my thinking.
But you didn't have a parent to navigate that.
I didn't have any parent helping me navigate that. And I think that's what we need as Christian parents, is to be able to embrace how God designed us in just such more an open way, without the fear of what is this going to lead to? Because we're not going to turn a kid gay because we had a conversation. I just want, I want to say that, right? Because I think so many parents think, oh, I'm going to give them ideas. No, you're not. You're not.
And you're seeing the way teens. Sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to. You're seeing the way teens are using ChatGPT and these awful stories that have come up with these kids who end up committing suicide or something on ChatGPT. And like the thing is, they are processing these things with someone. Like the steam is finding an outlet. You know what I mean? And that's the nature of the beast. And it's a decision to have these conversations. We're at about an hour. If we can get one more thing in, I think I'd like to. Your kid comes to you and says, my girlfriend and I are sleeping together. I think she might be late. And you know what I mean? And that's the first time you find out, or just you find out some other way, and like, even if it ends up, they're not pregnant. Like as a parent, you learn, you go from, they're dating, whatever, to, oh, they're sleeping together regularly. Like, what do I do?
And I assume we're talking about someone still living in the home. Yes.
Yeah. We're talking about, like, let's imagine 16, 17-year-old. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, my hope would be that way before that point, they know where your values lie in this, and wrestling with what I started a while ago and saying that why we think it is wise to wait until you're married. Why? Because we think there's so much connection that's happening in sex. There's so much emotional things that God's designed it to be, that it is more than just the I want to release kind of thing that we're talking about. But it's not bad. We understand that there's that desire. Like, so all of that needs to be a part of a dating conversation, that you're working with your kids of like, well, how are you going to deal with the fact that you're going to really, really want this person, right? I know that's hard to say to kids, they know it. So let's be a part of having that conversation. And I want to add, like, we've gone multiple ways on this of like, when is dating? And I think we really, really delayed our kids in dating early, and then kind of came to regret that a little bit, because there is this reality. Our oldest didn't really date until he got out of the house. Now, he's made great decisions about all of that stuff.
He did a little bit. right before.
Right.
Actually, both of them right before.
But it's
graduated.
Like when they're out and in the world, they're making decisions about this on their own. Like there is a place that, man, if they're dating while they're in high school or something like that, under your roof, you get to have more conversations and get to be a part of helping shape what does that look like. And I really encourage parents to think through, like, I think a lot of them are just like, no dating until you're over 18. That limits your parenting role. I'm not saying it's just something to think about. You have to think about each kid and what they can handle and what they're ready for.
Maturity. We did that with everybody.
But I do think like our daughter dated when she was 16, and we got to have lots of conversations with her about dating, about, limits, and ended up, we won't go into it too deeply, but ended up feeling like this was not the right relationship for her. And as a young woman was able to go, no, this isn't what I want, which I think is so incredibly healthy and important as a part of dating. So I think that comes before what you just said of like, oh, here they are.
But I think if you find out that, I think the first thing is remembering kindness and gentleness. That is going to get you further than all the other emotions you might feel. And I want to remind parents, not that Brad and I have always been perfect at this, your emotions are yours to handle, not your kids to handle. And I think if a kiddo comes and says that, whether a girl or boy, just a hug and wow, that must be really scary, right? Just join them where they are. Believe it or not, that's not going to lead them to think, oh, mom and dad are okay with this. Like, we didn't think that will be permissive. They know what you think, right? You've already had these conversations. And if you haven't had them, they still know what you think. And so starting with that kindness and gentleness and where do we go from here, right? Because these decisions have already been made. If a child is part of the equation, like that's a beautiful thing, even under any circumstances. And you want a kid to feel that way. There's a lot of conversations that are going to happen afterwards, but start with, I love you. I'm sorry. This is a really hard spot to be in.
Yeah.
Let's talk. And
I think looking at that end result actually forces us as parents to have this hard conversation. I'm not saying this is easy in any ways, but if you know your kids is in a serious relationship, they're dating, their stuff, and you haven't talked to them about sex and found out what they're trying to think, then you're missing something, right? And I would as a parent go, hey, if you're making this decision about sex, you better be thinking about birth control, right? And again, I'm not looking for being the permissive parent. Like some people think, oh, that's giving permission for this. No, what you're doing is saying, if you think you're so responsible that you're doing this decision, you need to think through where this is going. And being a part of that conversation too. Again, would I want to kind of go, hey, let's make sure that you have birth control or those kind of things? No, I would not do that. I would say, if you're going to make this decision, you had better figure this part out.
Right.
I want something different for you, but I'm also not going to put my head in the sand and pretend that other part doesn't happen. Because we know exactly in the situation where you're talking, a 16-year-old couple having kids, that is going to be life-alteringly difficult.
Yeah, and I was just kind of, the shock value piece is like, I think what you said about Kate, about leading with love. There was an awful story in ESPN about these sextortion stories, which are basically a scammer creates like a honeypot situation and gets a kid to send a nude photo and then says, I'm going to share this with everyone you love if you don't send me money. And then these teens in many cases end up killing themselves. And I shared it with my sister who has teens, and she sat down at a family meeting and said, I need you to know, I don't care what you did. Like, you know what I mean? Like there might be a minor consequence, but the consequence will never be worth you taking your own life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the types of conversations you're talking about, is when you get a chance to say, hey, so-and-so, what do you think about that? You know?
That needs to happen. And obviously we didn't even get into the conversation of around what do you post on social media? What do you post to but those are important.
And we can be honest with one of our kiddos that actually did happen. And our kiddo,
not them posting pictures, but
it never got that far. But we talked through it, and our kiddo was like, I did this. I thought it was someone else contacting me. Like, and you know what? And we walked it through with them, and it was just social media, all that stuff out there. It's just so hard. But thankfully, that kiddo came to us and said, "This is what's happening," and we were able to help that kiddo through it. And it's just, yes, there is so much out there that is preying on these kids, and they think these mistakes. I think purity culture did sort of perpetuate that these mistakes are
permanent.
You can't. There's no reversing. You're done. This is awful. And I think we as parents need to remind them there's no mistake that we will ever stop loving them. There are some earthly consequences to mistakes that are not fun, but it will never change how we feel about them.
Even in our era, that purity culture pushed so hard that women were often felt like if something happened to them, even against their own choosing, that now they were damaged.
Yeah, because it's virgin or not virgin.
Well, and really against their choosing, because they probably had on some clothes that made it.
Oh, but
right,
right, exactly.
It was my fault.
Oh, well, I guess I just dressed inappropriately. Like those kind of things did happen, and I think it is so important that we talk to our kids about the freedom in Christ, the forgiveness in Christ. Not even in that situation, that forgiveness is needed. But this place of being loved and that we are there for them as parents as they are making mistakes. Like saying those things doesn't mean that they're going to go make mistakes. It means you're going to be a part of their life while they do.
But they are going to make mistakes. Right. And I don't necessarily mean sexual intimacy mistakes, but they're going. Brad and I used to say to ourselves all the time, they're going to make mistakes. It's just a question of
which ones?
Around what? Like, what's the subject going to be? So please, as parents, know they're going to make mistakes, and a significant amount of kids are going to make mistakes around this. And so how are we going to, how are we going to handle that when it happens is going to tell our kids a lot about their value.
And I think initiating those conversations along the way is really, really valuable. Talking about social media, if your son or daughter is posting photos that are designed to attract the opposite sex on Instagram, you can ask, hey, what are we going for here? And not even like, not even like trying to make you uncomfortable, but just like, what was your goal?
And we've had those conversations as well. We've had those conversations as well. And interestingly enough, we've had siblings speak into that. Hey, that picture you posted, I thought that was weird. Like, why would you post that? None of our kids, thankfully, was over the top, but even siblings saying, I didn't like seeing that picture.
Right. That was helpful.
And, I try to keep it very like neutral, and we don't know which kid we're talking about here, but like, we've had those conversations, and I think it's important. Just, that's an interesting picture. Tell me why you
about that.
wanted to post that.
But that's the question. Asking more questions rather than the accusations. That's the thing that brings in more conversation. And you want to be a part of this conversation with your kids.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that, and you have to start the groundwork for that when they are 8, 9, 10. And if you missed it, then it's okay. You know what? We didn't talk anything about this. Let's start from where you are, and let's go to how do I help you in navigating this really hard world?
Yeah,
because it's hard.
So the solution is broadly just conversations and an ongoing conversation and kind of a normalization. I mean, that makes sense. Certainly, customizable. Closing, anything we didn't get out, anything we feel like, kind of last sentence, whatever.
I think, this is partially where our value is. Yes. Is this important to do with your kids? Yes, 100%. But it is going to come out of you having a healthy understanding of your own sexuality as God designed it. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, God designing my sexuality, there's some work for you to do.
Right. You can only go as far. We can only take others as far as we've gone, and that includes your children. So you need to have these conversations and get more comfortable with it. I don't think anybody's ever doesn't care. I think it definitely does hit into areas for all of us, but you need to be somewhat comfortable talking about it in reflection to yourself to be able to help your kids have a good relationship with their desire and their sexuality.
Yeah.
100%. So it's worth doing the work as a married couple. If you're having kind of communication issues around sex, it's uncomfortable, but it's not just you. Because maybe the message somebody's telling themselves is, well, it's bad, whatever, but it's not hurting anybody. It's just us, and we're not going to get divorced, so it's fine. But not true.
I'm saying it all the time. You have one opportunity to show your kids what a healthy marriage looks like, and that's by modeling it.
But even what you just said, Addison, breaks my heart because, it's not impacting anybody. It's impacting the two of you. And God desires for you to have a good relationship with this, not perfect by any means. We want to honor that we're people, we have stories, all those kinds of things. But that breaks my heart that you think the two of you holding that and just sort of protecting it around, that's the only thing it will impact. Even if that's true, that's heartbreaking because it's impacting you.
Correct.
So I think it's worth you guys having the opportunity to grow through that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. It's been longer than I think I expected. So I appreciate you being gracious in that regard. And we will see you guys in January.
We're looking forward to
it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's it for the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, all that type of stuff on as many platforms as you can. That helps us to get the podcast in front of more people. And then I really want to encourage you. A couple people have emailed me saying, hey, Addison, I really appreciate it. My email is addison@gccws.net. If you want to share ideas or thoughts or comments, you can email me, or those of you who have my phone number, feel free to text me. It's helpful for me to know that people out there are listening, are engaging with it, are enjoying it. So thanks so much. And we'll talk to you soon.